Good morning folks, this is Naeem Aslam, Chief Market Analyst at AvaTrade. Welcome to our fundamental analysis video. Let's begin by looking at the equity markets. We've seen this enormous amount of a surge in the US equity markets, and this has led many scratching their heads. Is that bottom really in place? Are we going to see these markets continue to move higher? Now, in order to find the answer for this particular question, what I've done is I went into major ETFs such as SPDR, Vanguard ETFs, Directions ETF, which really tells you that if the money is really flowing into the market. And folks, the answer is that I am still not seeing that massive momentum coming from the buy side. But the encouraging signals are coming in because investors are curtailing on those long short bets against the equity market. This leads me to believe that perhaps the bottom is in place, especially when we are talking about the S&P 500 index. With respect to its weekly chart, and I see that 200-day moving average is sitting right over here while the price is trading just over here. Yesterday we had another test of this 200-day moving average on a weekly time frame. If the price breaks above this, then certainly the bottom is in place. Certainly the momentum is going to kick in. And remember, the massive inflow that we are going to see because of a portfolio readjustments. We are coming towards the end of a quarter, and it is then when enormous amount of a buying takes place because portfolio resizing takes place. Why? Because these portfolio resizing happens automatically. Because what these algorithms looks at, what market is down by what percentage, okay, let's go and buy. And once that extra money starts to kick in, we're going to see the equity market, we're going to see the Dow Jones, we're going to see the other indices moving higher. Now, when it comes to the European markets, I'm seeing that momentum picking up today. The FTSE is up, the Stock 600 is up, the DAX index is again, it has surged, and all these major indices closed the day on a positive note yesterday. And today they're picking up the momentum from this particular data which I am just about to share. Of course, if you wanted to read more into this data, I have full article dedicated to this on our website avatrade.com. So what happened overnight in China? We've seen the manufacturing data coming back. We've seen the manufacturing PMI number printing a number which was better than the forecast, and the services non-manufacturing PMI also came ahead of the forecast as well. This was the rubber stamp that traders were looking for, because remember, we talked about this previously in our previous videos that yes, the activity and the manufacturing activity is picking up in China. And remember the major points that we talked about, on which our fundamental analysis is pretty much standing on, those pillars. One being central and fiscal monetary policy. Second, the curve of the outbreak starts to flatten or perhaps ease off from its peak. Third was that, okay, we need to see the economic activity picking up, and we saw the evidence of that in various different news headlines 2 weeks ago from today, that we were seeing those activity picking up, and today we had the rubber stamp. We have the confirmation, official confirmation in terms of economic numbers that yes, those numbers have started to surge, and that is a very positive news. This doesn't necessarily mean that there are no longer strong headwinds for the economy or for the equity markets. Of course no, because Europe is still very much in battle with the outbreak of coronavirus, and of course the US as well. As long as the demand shock remains here, now we have a supply shock which is perhaps diminishing because supply chain is coming back. It has started to recover, at least. If it hasn't recovered to the previous levels, that is for sure. But we are seeing that recovery coming. And once the demand starts to shift, only when the outbreak is pretty much under control, then we can see that then we can see it's everything going back to normal. But by that time, it will be too late for the equity markets, for investors to get involved in that market, because that major discount that we are seeing in the market will no longer be there. And this is why we need to very much focus on the opportunity at hand. And that means getting involved in this price action and then taking advantages of the current move. Now, talking about the volatility index, it has dropped below 60. And if the momentum continues in the equity market, it is highly likely for the volatility index to drop below the level of 40 as well. And that can happen as soon as by the end of this week, if not early next week. When we are speaking of commodities, I'm looking at oil, the supply war, the demand shock, the supply shock. Everything is coming together. And that is influencing the prices. And that is what keeping the lid on the oil price. That is why we are not seeing any upward momentum when it comes to oil price. In fact, it dropped below the critical level of 20. Now it is likely that the price is going to go back to its previous support level, the one we talked about yesterday as well on our weekly chart, which sits between 16 or 17 and goes all the way to 19. Now the price has entered into that zone. Now if that level doesn't hold, then of course that next level comes from our monthly chart. A full technical video was done on this on our YouTube channel yesterday. So please do go and have a look on that. And remember, you can always buy insurance against all these uncertain times through AvaProtect. But always follow on our social media to get all the updates that you need. And stay tuned. We'll be in touch tomorrow. Thank you.